Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. In the last part, we did some minor exploring around Clock Town and Southern Swamp now that we've taken out Woodfall Temple. And now, you may have remembered that I've said that the pictograph contest is closed after you've beaten that, so if you didn't turn that in like I did, you're out of luck until the next 3-day cycle. That is true, but there is also something else here for us now if we talk to Kome again.
Oh, thanks for what you did back there. As a special just for you, I'll let you take this cruise for free. Wait, yes, just as I thought. It seems the poison swamp has been cleaned up, so why not try something that's more interesting? How about a little game? I'll fly around in my broom and you try to hit my target. Doesn't it sound fun? Well, wanna try?
Why not?
That's the way to go. But let me explain. You're not aiming for me with that bow, you're aiming for the target. If you hit me, I'll never forgive you.
So this is sort of a follow-up to the Gerudo horse track archery minigame in Ocarina. We need to shoot the target that Kome's holding several times. In order to get the ultimate reward for this, you need to get 20 shots in throughout the entire loop without shooting her 10 times, which shooting her is surprisingly easy, but at the same time you can kind of clip your arrows through her a little bit, particularly her broom and feet. The target takes a second to respawn, but honestly, you actually have plenty of time for this. 20 might sound like a lot of shots, but especially if you just mash the button, the target respawns so quickly, you can probably average out, I think my usual average is like 25 shots. On top of that, you have little moments like that where you go through little tunnels, which are pretty much straight shots to hit the target. This isn't exactly hard. With that said, your reward actively depends on the version you're playing. If you're playing the N64 version, we're going to get a piece of heart. If you play the 3DS version to this minigame, your reward for getting 20 shots or more is an empty bottle. They moved one from another location in the game and swapped that location's reward for a piece of heart. Which honestly I think is the better layout for those two items, because getting that extra bottle early, like this, actively will allow you to streamline a later 3-day cycle to a pretty good extent without having to worry about going out of the way for certain times. And that's a pretty good point for the 3DS version. Again, 3DS version has some pros and cons, but there are some really good pros that if those cons weren't there, I could just say easily that is the best version of the game.
29, pretty good considering. Well, as I promised, here, take this.
And there's that piece of art. Yeah, it's kind of the tragic thing.
Now, wasn't that fun? If you'd like to play again, come back and see me.
While Ocarina of Time 3D is without a doubt the definitive version of that game in my eyes, between its higher frame rate, better visuals, on top of genuinely good quality of life changes all around, Majora's Mask is a game that, now that we have a trailer for it, that's sort of like Persona 3, in that each of the versions has its own qualities that make it worth playing, but there's no definitive version of it because of that. They really, I know by the time this gets uploaded it'll be at least closer to release, but that first trailer for Reload aired about a week ago at this point, and yeah, I'm disappointed in that. I was actually waiting to do Persona 3 until a remake came out in case it was like the FES styled. Now I have to decide on which version to do for that game eventually, and there's no winning. Great. With that, now that we've got the piece of heart from Kome's target gallery, we want to move back into main Termina Field. The next item I actively want to grab is actually technically in the next room behind us. But that is in a little minigame shop that doesn't open until 6 a.m. So we're just gonna take our time to do some stuff around Termina Field. In particular, we want to come this way. This is technically the 5th main area of the map besides Clock Town, but it's pretty small in comparison, at least in terms of its actual physical size. It's still really important. This is Milk Road. It does have its own separate map though, so make sure we get Tingle down and hit that owl statue right there, because it is pretty key for doing a lot of side quests around here in a very efficient manner. Oh, also, for one thing, the bow and arrow can take down Tingle's balloon, no problem. But if you leave Tingle alone on the floor long enough, he will just reinflate his balloon. You need to shoot him back down again. I think he'll also do it pretty quickly after you talk to him and then say no. So now we got the map for the Romani Ranch area. That's technically the name of the overall area we're in. Milk Road's just the very particular section of it. There's a slight sadness in my heart whenever I come to this area due to the Majora's Mask manga that Akira Himekawa did, that artist-writer duo. Majora's Mask was the third volume of that, the second game they tackled. And they wanted to do something with this area, but they couldn't figure out a way to make it fit into the overall plot, so they just kind of ignored it. And the Majora's Mask manga is still one of my favorites of those, but it still makes me a little sad inside. Someone was up to some no-good mischief and blocked the road to Romani Ranch. I'm sorry, I'll remove it quickly. And by quickly, he means we can't access Romani Ranch until the dawn of the third day at the earliest. So we got some time before we can do anything over here, but the fact that I grabbed that owl statue now means at least we can come back here pretty quickly once we can. There are a couple of areas I can access that have heart pieces here in Termina Field, but to be frank, some of them you can't do during the nighttime anyway. And one of them, while I can access it with the blast mask instead of having bombs or another way to destroy rocks, it'll just be faster to do once I have a certain faster method of movement we can get in this 3-day cycle. So for now, we're just gonna roll back into the early parts of Southern Swamp, because the minigame that I want to do is getting relatively close to opening. In particular, to access it, you might look on the map there on the bottom right, you might notice this place is shaped like a sideways T. It's at the bottom of the T. It's that little door on the very bottom right of the map. Oh, also, these are Wolfos. I probably should talk about these enemies because they're only in a couple areas. They show up primarily at night, I think, throughout Termina Field. They try to swing their arms into you, and they can actively guard. But the cool thing about them is you can actively, if you try to get behind them by, like, side-hopping around them while Z-targeting, their back actively takes double damage, but my favorite way to take care of them is to just do a auto-spin attack by spinning the analog stick and pressing the B button, because the magic that's emitted by that can get past their guard, even if they can backflip out of the way of it. I've always found the fact that if you hit a tree like that, it just makes the sound effect over and over again funny. I don't know why. I also don't know why that Deku flower is there, because I can't really think of a good reason to use it, except for maybe that there might be some rupees on top of those trees over there that I just never know about. Also, these little grass pieces and pots can be destroyed if memory serves. So we want to access the swamp shooting gallery, but it only opens at 6 a.m. So let's just speed up the timer a little bit, just to get a little bit there faster. This is something that you have to do, I'd say, with pretty decent regularity in the game if you're super efficient at doing things, because there's just going to become a point where there's nothing else you can do besides wait. Especially here in the N64 version where the Song of Double Time just skips you to the next period of 12 hours and not to whatever hour you want that's ahead in the clock period.
Hi, mate. How are you? Wanna play? My game's 20 rupees. The rules to my game are a piece of cake. Shoot for the targets from atop the platform. You gotta hit them all. That's all there is to it. If you don't aim proper with the analog stick, you won't hit any of them. Are you ready, mate?
So this is sort of the analog to the town shooting galleries in Kakariko and Hyrule Castletown in Ocarina. We are gonna have a bunch of enemies that pop out in certain patterns that we need to take out in order to get rewards from here. There are 2 rewards from here. I forget the exact numbers, I'm looking them up right now to get them, but the big thing is there's several patterns of Deku Scrubs, Wolfos, and I think the name of the birds are the Guays that you have to shoot to take them all out. Wolfos and 2 particular Deku Scrubs, though, are worth a solid 100 points. Wolfos will show up in the front and the back of the area, so you have to keep an eye on which one they are, but thankfully they have a good sound cue when they're showing up, and on top of that they howl at certain points so they stop moving. But there is a Deku Scrub on the far right on that tree in the distance, and on the far left on top of that rock you need to make sure you shoot, otherwise you're not getting the top score. Let's see. In order to get the first one, you need 2,120 points, and in order to get the second one, you need 2,180. You can get the 2120 no problem, as long as you hit every single target along the way. The 2180 can be a little trickier though, but to help with that, when you've hit every target, you actively get bonus points added to your score for every second you have left on the clock, as well as the remaining fraction of a second. So for instance here, even on my first try, 2120, so I got the first reward, no problem. But I think due to the extra seconds, I get around somewhere in the 2200, 2300 zone. Maybe 2400. Yeah, it's absolutely going to be like early 24. No, 2300. I can't count. Can you tell I'm an art major?
Well, that's pretty darn good, mate. Perfect. Here you go. Take this, mate.
For doing the first reward, you get a large quiver. You can now carry up to 40 arrows from our base 30.
Aye, tell your friends all about us, alright, mate?
But now we have to go get the second reward, which is 2180 plus. This isn't too hard. If you could do the 2120, no problem. Getting the 2180 is just going to be doing that, but slightly faster, or just getting that score again. On the N64, this minigame can be a little annoying because you actively have to feel out where the targeting reticle for the bow and arrow is, and I'm just used to it at this point. The added feature for actually seeing where your arrows are going to hit on the screen in 3DS helps a lot here. On top of that, there's gyroscope aiming in the 3DS version, which I'm not a fan of, but some people like.
Well, that's pretty darn good, mate. Perfect. Here you go. Take this, mate.
And we get another piece of heart. You might be noticing, we've gotten a lot of those so far.
Aye, tell your friends all about us, blah, 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 blah.
If you haven't figured it out yet, Majora's Mask is, I'd say, about 65% side quests in total for all the items, counting masks and heart pieces combined. If you wanted to just play this game straight through and only getting a minimal amount of heart pieces, you could be done with it. I'd say at about 3 in-game cycles, maybe 4 at the most if you're being very careful about certain things. And because of that, it can definitely be one of the fastest casual Zelda games, on the 3D side at least, but I always go for 100% because I just love doing it at this point. But now, since we rescued the old lady from the thief on the night of the first day, if we come to the bomb shop, we can now pick up a big bomb bag for 90 rupees. This can hold up to 30 bombs, just got it in stock. We got a big bomb bag, now we can carry up to 30 bombs. Now you might notice that was a big bomb bag, and when we checked the bomb shop on the first 3-day cycle, there was a bomb bag here, but it was just a normal one. And you could buy that at the start of this particular 3-day cycle, no problem, because it's also pretty cheap. But if you just wait a little bit, because you don't need bombs at all in Woodfall Temple, you can just skip straight to the big bomb bag, and I think that's hilarious, and also very useful because bombs are very strong for taking out enemies for one thing in this game. But it's just good to have them around in case you don't want to use the blast mask, because you can just spam bombs so much more quickly. Now that we have the bombs, though, I'm comfortable with heading towards the north, because if you remember the order of operations that Tail told us, after the swamp, we're due to head north for the mountain. Shoot that icicle twice, it crashes down, destroys that ice, and we can now access the next quadrant of the map. Also, fun little thing here. Hello, Wrecking Spirit. Whenever you enter and exit Termina Field, this wall randomly generates and picks a couple of different Ocarina songs. Some of them are completely made up for this, some of them are just straight up from Ocarina of Time, like that Zelda's Lullaby can show up there, I know for a fact. If you play them, with memorizing them, because the camera swings to the front of Link whenever you pull out the Ocarina, you get some rupees. I think the value depends on the song in particular, though. Also, kind of a nice thing. I didn't realize it for some time, for some reason as well. Termina Field's main theme is just the main Legend of Zelda theme, which is kind of cool because it was completely absent back in Ocarina of Time. And it's one of those things I didn't really think about being absent from Ocarina for a good while. They use it a good amount in Majora here. So the thing is about the mountain area, these snowballs. You need bombs of some sort in order to destroy them, be it the bomb mask, or the blast mask, or the bombs themselves. So that's why I waited to get both the blast mask and the bombs to come here, because that way you could have either option, on top of the fact you really don't want to come here until you've beaten Woodfall Temple. You really even can't, although I guess you could grab the bow from Woodfall Temple, leave for some reason, then come over here. I don't know why you would, but you could. Mountain Village. One house. I mean, I guess that's more of a village than a town. Whoa! Up here, up here. I'm sorry to bother you from such a high place. But I am very hungry and I have gotten stuck here. Sorry to hear that. So if you can't tell, the mountain is once again like Ocarina of Time, where the Gorons live in this game. We're not really leaving this area for the next several parts. Also, something I find kind of cool. All 4 of the main areas of the game, when they're all messed up by whatever the dungeon is, they basically share the same song, and I love that tune. It's weirdly relaxing to me, despite feeling kind of weird.
Shut up! Just when I was having a good dream. Oh, welcome to the Mountain Smithy, where we take our time to make a good point. I am Zabora, the owner. Pleased to meet you. Shut up over there! That huge fellow is my assistant, Gabora. He's all brawn and about as smart as a Deku stick. Say, did you come to have your sword sharpened? Unfortunately, we're not doing any business right now. It's because of this abnormal cold snap we've been having. See? Our hearth has been frozen over. The way things are going now, I won't be able to do any business until spring. If I could just do something about that frozen hearth. Eh? What's that? You say if we had hot water, we could melt the ice off the hearth? Don't act like you know what you're talking about, you Deku stick. Oh, he believes a rumor that says that long ago there were hot springs somewhere in the mountains near here. Bah, I don't believe such rubbish. So this is a side quest you theoretically could do if you came here as early as you could, to upgrade your sword. But if you come here at any point during the second day, I think maybe even the night of the first day, I have to check up on that again. It's not worth doing until the next time reset. I tend to save it for one particular point just because I'm not going to need the sword at that point anyway. Goron Village ahead, beware of the white wolfos. White wolfos are like normal wolfos, only snow covered. I think they might do slightly more damage and move faster, something like that. It's a minuscule difference if there is one. Also, hello again, Tingle. I require your finest of maps. You know, at some point, you really gotta, like, fly lower, dude, because that's gonna kill your knees after a while. Yes, I will buy one of you. Oh. Never mind. We're gonna have to come back to this area anyway, so me missing that now is not a big deal. Admittedly, I usually have a slightly higher amount of rupees at this point, so I can grab that on the way over to our next destination, but it's not a big deal. Welcome to Goron Village. You might notice there's no Gorons around. Our goal here is, I think it's technically considered the southern portion of the map. I actually forget which direction's which right now. Oh, hello again, Owl. Woohoo! We meet again, fairy child. Have my stone statues been of help? Well, it seems you may have the strength to change the fate of this land, as I expected. But the road ahead is even more challenging. Many trials await you. Please, watch over these Gorons around you. Their land is doomed to be smothered in snow and ice forever. It'll become a land where no living thing can survive. Without courage and determination, you surely will collapse from the extreme conditions. But if that courage and determination burns bright within you, then that's another story. So, will you proceed?
Yeah, I guess.
Ooh, you are a child of many strengths. Well, perhaps you do have enough strength to change the fate of this mountain after all. I shall take to the air now, flying toward that shrine across the way, so follow behind me. Do not be daunted by appearances. Instead, let your feelings guide you, and the true path shall open before you. Are you ready? Follow behind me. Now you might think, oh my god, the owl's lost it, that's a bottomless pit. And it is. Mostly. At certain points, the owl will drop a feather. That feather marks an invisible platform. It is a slippery platform, so there are ice physics, so don't like try to roll all over the place, otherwise you might slip off. But this isn't exactly hard. It took me a second to figure out what to do the first playthrough, but it's pretty straightforward. Ooh, I have certainly been assured of your courage and determination. From here on, you must not be fooled by appearances. You must rely on your feelings. Now enter the shrine. Something that will aid you in your quest lies within. Use that item when returning from here.
Say goodbye to Kepora Gebora. This is his last appearance in the game. I don't really know why they added him besides the owl statues in the game, considering his role in Majora and Ocarina was much more notable, especially considering the potential behind-the-scenes story implications I talked about in that LP. We will see him in another Zelda game, once I eventually get to that, but for now, we got the Lens of Truth. Gaze through it to see mysteries that are invisible to the naked eye. Set it to C to use it. Seeing the truth drains magic power, so tap C again to stop looking and using up magic. So this does the same thing it did in Ocarina. There are hidden enemies, doorways, fake walls, hidden chests that you can see with this that aren't usually visible. Those items are still usually tangible, so say if you know where an invisible chest or enemy is, you can shoot it with a bow and arrow or open it if you just know it's there. But it's handy to have. With that said, it does drain magic. But a little quirk about the magic system in, I think, technically both Ocarina and Majora. For one thing, you can only use one item that drains magic at a time. So you can't, say, use certain other items we're gonna get in dungeons and the Lens of Truth at the same time. But while the animation of this little circle opening and closing is playing, it doesn't drain magic. So you can just mash the C button you have it mapped to, and you won't have to worry about it at all. That part may have been changed in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask 3D. I actually don't know. It's been a hot minute since I played either of those games. But it's not a big deal all the same. It, as you can see, drains magic so slowly anyway, it's not really worth worrying about. But with that, I'm gonna need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 8, now that we have the Lens of Truth, we're gonna see what having it allows us to do throughout the lower Snowhead areas. See you guys then.